You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, Derek here from Drakewing Gaming. Some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today, as you can see, I am covering a new game in the lineup, Violet Memoir. This has been on my list for a little while now. I've been kind of following its development. I'm absolutely in love with the art style. I love the main menu. I love the music. Ah, man, there's just so much about this one little scene. That just, it's so well done. But anyway, guys, let's jump right into this. I have no idea what to expect. I'm going into this blind, so sit back and enjoy. Alarm chain, you have been engaged. Let's see what Violet Memoir is all about. The story contains scenes of abuse, violence, bullying, trauma, death, and references discussions about suicide. It's okay, we've played Echo. Please read with caution if you're sensitive to any of these topics. Yeah. Absolutely. If you guys are sensitive to this, fair warning. Total darkness envelops me, leaving me stranded in the lonely void. I'm noticing a theme here with furry visual novels, that they seem to start with this. Kind of just waking up, or alone in the darkness or something. The air around me is dry, but cold as if I was surrounded by an icy tundra. But I'm not completely alone. A single beam of light pierces through the darkness. It's blinding, but provides no warmth. My ears ring in almost complete silence. The only noises are my own breathing, the soft pattering of my tears, and a sickly stretching sound. There's no movement around me. It's like everything has stopped, frozen in this hellish moment in time. The reality of the situation is pressing down on me, crushing me under its pressure. There are no words. Nothing left to be said. It's all over. A click wakes me from my stupor. My attention pulled back to the handle and lock in front of me. Shaking the drowsiness out of my head, I pull a key from the door, the motion causing my white cheek fur to sway with every turn. Not wanting to waste any more time, I quickly slide the key into my pocket and push through the door. The first thing I notice is the smell. The room has a musty odor, like it hasn't been used for a long time, at least for a few months. I guess they weren't able to rent out this room last semester. Said room is rather barren, which is to be expected. There's just 2 beds in both corners on the left of the room. Next to each of them is a small nightstand. There's a desk at the end of the right bed and a closet at the end of the other. It's a tight fit of a room, but it feels homely, like a warm living room. And honestly, anything to get out of that house. I don't think I could last another day there. I suddenly feel a wave of guilt and sadness pass through me at the thought of abandoning my parents in that house. But I couldn't stay there any longer. Mom was crying, but I could see she understood. I can't imagine they like staying there either. After all, they're almost always away on business trips. Thinking of that house makes my chest tighten, and I grip the doorknob tighter, my claws almost scratching into the metal. I grit my teeth and force myself to move. I can't become stagnant. Not again. Walking into the room, the morning sun welcomes me through the curtains and stretches across the far bed. The floor is almost completely wooden except for a small patch of carpet in front of the door. It's soft and tickles the bottom of my exposed paws. I know moving in on the first day of university isn't the smartest choice, but I'm gonna lower the volume just a little bit. Okay. Leaving that house is hard. It holds you there. Ensnares you, strips you of everything. I couldn't just leave. Not with things how they were. But in the end, I had to. I ran out of time. I'm always... Bing! An alert on my phone snaps me out of my thoughts again. Growing even more frustrated with myself, I trot over to the closest bed, the one across from the desk. My new bed. Leaning my carry bag against my bed and placing my laptop bag on top of it, I pull out my phone. 9 a.m. Only an hour before my first class of the day. When I check the alerts, it's just a few texts from Mom. Have a great day! Make sure you send photos of your new room. Love you! No, and don't drink too much. Or do drugs. Well, at least not any bad ones. It's just a small thing, but for some reason I can't help but feel my eyes watering. I guess I really am growing up. I can't just settle for getting older. I came here with a single goal in mind, a fresh start. A place where I can be a new me, find some friends, find a hobby, and if I'm lucky, find a goal in life. Maybe a boyfriend would be nice too. I hear that. I don't want to be the same person who walked out of that house yesterday. Deciding that it's probably best for me to unpack tonight after classes, I pick up my laptop bag and turn to leave. However, just in the corner of my eye, I catch sight of a little note folded on the nightstand next to my bed. I guess I missed it somehow. Not knowing how long it'll take me to walk to campus, I lunge to grab the note and pry it open. Dear Wallace, dear Mr. Wallace Stewart, Unipledge Apartments would like to inform you that the occupant of your room will remain vacant. We are under no authority to disclose why, but do not be concerned as it does not affect you or your stay at Unipledge Apartments. Feel free to use the entire room as you please within the guidelines of conduct. Scent neutralizers are available from the front desk if necessary. They are free for all our must-lid guests such as yourself. I blink a few times before processing the letter. It's pretty easy to understand that I don't have a roommate, but the ambiguous wording of the letter has me somewhat concerned. And a little suspicious. I don't have time to dwell on it, though. It's already been 10 minutes since I last checked the time, so I need to hurry and make it to my first class. After 30 minutes of walking, I finally made it to Everwinter University. Despite growing up in Everwinter, I never checked out at the university. When I was younger, it was just a fancy school for older guys, and I had other things on my mind during high school. Just standing underneath an archway to entrance to the school, I can tell it's massive, and this is only the central hub. I'm lucky all my classes this semester are in the same area. I hate to run back and forth across between town. I hate to run back and forth across town between classes. Unfortunately, I have 4 classes on Monday, and I have no idea where any of those are. I'm forced to waste my time trying to find each of them, so I don't get to explore campus and see what it has in store. Maybe another day. Most of the classes are boring and introductory, just the teachers introducing themselves and giving a synopsis of what we can expect of our course during our semester. The first 2 classes are indistinguishable from each other. To be honest, it's hard to pay much attention. Man, this music is banging! As I leave my literature class, I can't help but think about my day so far. Biology at 10 a.m., economics at 12:45 p.m., and literature at 3 p.m. I know Mondays will become tiring, especially as my busiest day, but I will admit, even though the classes are boring, it is rather exciting to experience college for the first time. My final class for the day is Media and Communications, 4:30 to 5:45 p.m. An elective class I chose as a break for some of my other more intensive classes. Something more fun, I hope. I stand outside the door to the lecture hall. Instead of walking in, I can't help but just stare at the door handles. My own reflection is warped heavily around the long vertical cylinders, and he looks a bit nervous. A lot nervous, actually. Minutes pass as I stay frozen in front of the double doors, as if waiting for something that I'm not even aware of. There's the occasional student walking past behind me. The light pattering of steps sounds like clock hands, adding to the already tense ambience. For some reason, this door is ominous, like it's a turning point in my life. In a way, I guess it is. It's the end of my first day at university. It's a big step. I try to run a lot of justifications through my head as to why it isn't really a big deal. It's just another class, Wallace. You've been through 3 already. This is going to be your easiest class. It's media, after all. It's just the first day. Nothing's going to happen. Despite all the logic, that reflective steel of the big handles on the set of looming double doors has me frightened. Or maybe my nerves are finally getting to me. I get a sudden jolt from someone putting their hand on my shoulder. My entire body tenses and my head snaps to the source of whatever is touching me. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it's just another student. God, Jesus. Oh my god. Chase! You got so huge! Damn, Chase got swole. A rather tall otter. Much taller than me, though I guess that isn't particularly hard, but this guy looks like a monolith. Something about that smug grin, though, I do not like. I mean, I like this. I like all of this. This is very nice. He looks to be over 6.5 feet, if not bigger. He's wearing a large grin on his face, his teeth poking through, giving him a confident but approachable look. I wouldn't say that's approachable. To me, that looks a little vaguely threatening. His blue eyes shimmer just as brightly as his smile. Still asleep, man. I know that feeling. I wish I could have just stayed in bed all day. The words are sincere, and his voice is smooth. The medium tones give a relaxed vibe, and my fur and muscles calm from my jolt. His voice is very smooth, and the medium tone gives a very relaxed... Okay, I guess it repeated it. Okay. His blue bottom-up shirt has the top buttons undone, showing off some of his chest and a glimpse at a necklace. It looks like it has some kind of trinket at the end, but I can't quite make it out. Even though I wasn't intending to, I can't help but notice how firm his chest looks behind the jewelry. His shirt's stretching out tight, like it's barely able to contain him. His physique reminds me how I haven't done any kind of sports or even exercise since my second year of high school. You enjoying the view, or are you just going to sleep again? That makes me notice I've been staring a bit too long. I feel my neck for a rise back up, and I look away towards the door once again. My right ear flicks as the heat in it rises, turning the insides completely pink. All I hear in response is a light chuckle, and I see his paw reaching out, grabbing the handle. His grip is strong, and I'm able to feel the power behind it. Hey, come on now. You'll miss the class if you stand out here. Pushing open one of the doors, a wave of sound floods my ears. There has to be at least 100 students chattering throughout the auditorium. I know I shouldn't still be surprised by the size of these classes, but it's just so much more than I expected. It's so different from high school. Out of the corner of my eye, I catch movement coming from the otter next to me. He gives me a pat on the back and a wink before trotting into the lecture hall, surprising me with a sneaky bump with his large, thick tail. That last part hits me with an impact, and I stumble a few steps into the classroom, both from the suddenness and his size. My stare lingers after him as he walks away, the boisterous attitude still exuding from him, his thick tail swishing back and forth behind him, his cargo shorts barely able to contain it. What a strange guy. But his demeanor is infectious. The suspenseful thoughts from before are long gone, my previous excitement for this new experience returning, even if I'm still extremely nervous. Despite everything, a smile grows on my face. I feel like an idiot, but it's freeing, in a way. The otter really was a pleasant surprise. Calling it a conversation is perhaps too generous, but it did make me feel better. As I walk further in and I see all the faces, that ever-present anxious feeling in my heart begins to win out. I glance around the room before seeing the otter taking a seat in front, chatting to the people next to him. I wonder if he knows them or if he just started talking to them like he did with me. Much to my surprise, he glances back and looks over at me, a grin still covering his face as he gives me a thumbs up. The pressure of all the people in the room is still crushing my heart tightly, but I think I can do this. I came all this way to start over, right? Now's the time to start. I notice students walking to the front and writing something before taking their seats. Not really knowing what I'm supposed to do for this class, I just follow the example of everyone else. When I reach the front of the line, I see some kind of sign-in sheet. None of my other classes have required attendance. In fact, it's one of the reasons my parents wanted me to come to this university. They thought if I wasn't so pressured to go to every class, I wouldn't stress myself out as often. Unlike most of my other classes, there's no seating order at all. I just sit wherever I can find a spot. Slowly walking up to the rows of the lecture hall, I spot an empty seat at the end of one of the top rows. Oh! It's a possum! It's a badass-looking possum. I got a leather jacket that looks like that. It's right in front of a rather intimidating possum. He's wearing a leather jacket and has piercings across his ears. It looks like a piece of his ear is missing, too. An intruding thought of someone sneaking into a lecture to find a target to mug fills me with a bit of fear despite its nonsensical nature. I try not to make eye contact as I creep up to the empty seat. As I get closer, I can see he's already writing something down. On top of his desk is both a large book and a smaller notebook next to it with a few pens lined up to the side. He's dating and tilting the top of the first page. It looks like he's more prepared than everyone else. I look at a few of the surrounding students and see no one else is anything close to this setup. I suddenly feel like a gigantic idiot for judging him, wanting to smack myself in the head. Good, you should. Don't judge him. We're all here to learn, after all. But his attire and intimidating demeanor makes me feel like I shouldn't make eye contact with him. Pushing him out of my mind, I focus on sitting down and getting ready for the class. This music is so good. Approaching the empty seat, a fox in the neighboring seat catches my attention. Ah! Doesn't he look like a smart guy? He looks a lot more polished and cleaned up than most of the other students here. He's wearing a gray vest with a blue undershirt. The collar is neatly folded and leads down to a pink tie. Despite how proper he's looking, he somehow also looks disheveled at the same time. His combed hair fur is just a little too messy. There's more than a few wrinkles in his shirt, and some of his buttons are uneven as if he roughly forced them into their slots. I'm pretty sure his tie is on a clip too. He's looking at me with an annoyed expression. I can see why the seat is free now. It feels like he's staring daggers through his glasses. It feels like he's going to stab me with just his leer alone. Hey, His ice-cold eyes are unwavering. I feel my nerves cracking as his gaze slices into me. Against my wishes, my hands begin to fidget in front of my waist. If I didn't scream nervous, I certainly do now. Is this seat free? After saying it, I stare at him expectantly, but he doesn't respond for what feels like an eternity. Eventually, he shuffles over, which is unnecessary as we have separate seats, before looking at me with a rather bored expression. Fine. That dismissive tone might hurt more than his stare, but despite everything, I can't help but feel a wave of relief. It doesn't seem like he's all that bothered by me specifically. His attitude might come off as hostile, but I don't think he's malicious. Now that I'm seated, the fox acts like I no longer exist. I'm not sure if this is better or worse. The class is mostly the same boring recycled introductory lesson that I've been getting all day. At least until the final 10 minutes, where the professor, an uncomfortably thin ocelot, gets our attention for one final announcement. Now, I'm sure some of you know, but for those who don't, for this class, 50% of your grade will be determined by a group presentation. Ah, there it is. Here's the setup for teaming up with people I don't know. As the ocelot speaks, his excited gestures contrast his spindly frame. It would have been endearing if he'd been talking about anything else. An anxious feeling rises in my stomach at the thought of just doing a group project, let alone a presentation to an entire class of what looks like 200 students. Taking a glance over to the fox sitting next to me, he's looking even more agitated than he did before. He's cupping his head like he has a migraine, his ears poking through the gaps between his fingers. I'm tempted to try talking to him before ultimately deciding it's not the greatest idea. My attention is dragged back to the teacher as he continues on. Your groups have been randomly selected. Here are your groupings. The middle-aged spotted feline starts listing off multiple groups. Even though none of the names will mean anything to me, I make sure I'm listening. A little part of me does hope I'm with the otter, though. He was really nice. The first new friendly face I've had in, well, a long time. I came here for a fresh start, and making some friends is a good way to go about it. It's exciting in a daunting kind of way. Eventually, I do hear it, amongst many others. Group F, Lucas Brindley, Oscar Castle, Lily Rose, Ashley Scott, and Wallace Stewart. The cross fox next to me lets out a muffled groan through his hand in disgust, clearly not happy. His tail is bristled underneath his chair, making it appear pointy and unwelcoming. He's likely in the group with me. I would introduce myself, but I feel like I wouldn't exactly get a warm welcome. You'll be meeting with your groups on Wednesday, though feel free to contact them before then. All your fellow project members' students' emails will be sent to you within the hour. Next session will be completely dedicated to outlining your presentation and what will be expected. Well, that's it for the first lecture. I hope you've had a wonderful first day of the semester. Dismissed. There's a burst of movement as everyone rushes to get out of the class. Ignoring the rush of movement around me, I stretch out my back as I stand up, feeling my spine click in a satisfying way. Oh man, I didn't realize how hunched over I'd been all day. As I'm packing my laptop away, my eyes are drawn to the student sitting next to me. His aggressive aura is catching my attention. The fox next to me is seething as he quickly stuffs his books into his bag. He looks agitated, much more than someone should be. I know I should just leave this alone, but... Hey, is everything alright? You seem kinda upset. My ears burn intensely, embarrassment flooding all my senses. I feel everything heat up as if 1,000 eyes turn towards me, even though I know no one cares. His movements stop as he twists his head to look at me. Those cutting eyes of his staring directly into mine. After a short moment, much to my shock, I start to soften. They look much sadder now, and I can't help but wonder if I made everything worse. To my surprise, however, he addresses me for the first time since that dismissive response from earlier. No, it's fine. I just don't like presentations. There's obviously more to it, but he doesn't seem to want to share. His voice is softer, but there's still that cool edge to it, like he's cautious of me. He's got an accent I didn't notice earlier, but it's subdued. It's subdued, but it sounds southern. It's like he's actively trying to articulate his words to compensate, but it's still recognizable. Ah, okay, so I have to do a more subdued southern accent. The most standout part was his tone. The somberness in it holds a lot of weight. It's then that I noticed the charcoal black fur behind his glasses is matted down as if he's been crying recently. A very familiar feeling tightens my throat. I want to reach out and comfort him, but there are too many walls between us. It would be hollow, too. I don't know what he's feeling. As much as I wish I could say something to make him feel better, it's best that I don't bother him any further. My eyes are lingering on the fox as I walk away. His attention returns to his bag, but his movements look slower now. I probably should be paying attention to what I'm doing rather than focusing on the fox. Instead, I end up snagging the strap of my laptop bag onto the corner of the desk. A jolt forces my head forward as my shoulder is yanked back. It probably looked ridiculous, but it's also sudden that I lose my balance. Shock fills me as I stumble on the stairs, falling forward. Bracing myself, I stick my arms in front of my head and close my eyes reflexively. There's no time to think, only quick thoughts of panic before I slam against the ground. Or at least I should have. I'm suddenly stopped in my place and I hear a rather painted grunt in front of me. Seconds roll by before I finally open my eyes. Where there should have been steps in front of me, I see a smooth, dark fabric instead. For some dumb reason, my brain immediately goes to the idea that the floor is made out of leather. I'm being pushed back, and it's only now I notice my arms are being held. Now understanding what's obviously happened, I look up to see a marsupial's face. His eyes are wide, and a concerned expression is swept across his face. Jesus, fuck, are you okay? For a second, I think he's a slightly raspy voice, like he smokes a bit. Then I realize that I think I just pushed the air out of him as he caught me. Oh, yeah, I just wasn't looking where I was going. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I saw. Barely had time to catch it before you ate shit. It's only as I shift to stand up straight that I realize that he's still holding my arms softly. The brushing of skin against my fur isn't one I'm used to feeling, and I can't help but feel a shiver run up my back. The pink skin on his hands is hard and rough like they've been worn down. It's a stark contrast to his gentle touch. I'm gonna stop it right there. Yep, there you go. Oh, thank you guys so much for watching. I am really enjoying this so far. Everything about this is supremely well done. I'm enjoying the pacing so far. The characters are really cool. I love their designs. Music is absolutely fantastic. If the creator ends up, if the devs end up watching this video, I'm enjoying your game so far. No complaints. I think it's fantastic. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the notification bell until the next video. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!